Short exercise 7-9, we're going to post from the purchases journal to our general ledger and to the AP subledger. So our first task here, requirement 1, is total each column of the purchase journal. Let's go ahead and start with accounts payable. So that is going to be a total of 4,050. Merchandise inventory, we just have that, 2,100. Supplies, 250. And then in the other accounts, furniture for 1,700. Let's go ahead and check our answer. Excellent. All right, so we're now on to requirement 2. Now we have our AP subledger. And remember, the reason we have our AP subledger is because if your boss says we need to pay off the Briscoe company, how much do we owe them? You can't just look at here up above and assume with Briscoe company that they only owe this $250. They may have had more transactions. So you would post this to the subledger for Briscoe, and then you can find your current balance. Now, it just so happens if we look over here, there are no previous balances for these 3 vendors, this Briscoe, Mills, and Spivey. So the amounts above in the purchase journal are what we actually owe them. So what I recommend you do is start at the top just like you would in the real world, and you start here on October 1st with Mills Company. So we'll input the 1st for the date. Posting reference is P6. That's for the purchases journal, page 6. See the 6 right there. And then you would post this $2,100 credit here to this accounts payable subledger for Mills. So that is a credit of $2,100 and a balance of $2,100 as a credit. And then normally after we have that filled out, we would go back up here to this purchase journal and put in the posting reference to let everyone know and to remind us that we posted this transaction. But my accounting lab makes us do it in a different order. So now I move down our purchase journal. The next purchase was on the 11th, Briscoe Company for $250. So that is the 11th for the date here for Briscoe. Posting reference still that page 6, and that's a credit for $250 with a credit balance of $250 in that accounts payable subledger for Briscoe. And then lastly, on the 24th, we have Spivey Company with a $1,700 credit to accounts payable. So let's go down to the 24th for Spivey. So input the 24th, posting reference the same page, and that was for $1,700. All right, and make sure we don't have anything below before we check our answer. Nice work. And for requirement 3, we need to post to the general journal. So we're going to have to look up here to see if we have any previous balances, and none of these accounts have any. And then we need to keep in mind for accounts with a 0 balance, so all of these, we enter a 0 on the normal side of the account. Remember, normal balance just means a plus side. So let's look at inventory, which is an asset. So that is going to be a 0 balance here as a debit. To begin, supplies are also an asset, making that a debit balance of 0. And then furniture, also an asset, debit balance of 0. And accounts payable is a what? A liability. So the normal balance is on the credit side. All right, scroll down. We don't have any other accounts. Now we're going to review the purchases journal from requirement 1. And post from the purchase journal to the ledger. Now this link is nice and handy here on the homework. However, because this link is technically part of the solution, it's not going to be here on the test, so you'll have to scroll back up then to the first requirement to get these balances. However, since we're doing the homework, we will take advantage here of having a link. So here's what I recommend you do. Start from the left side and work your way over. So we have 4,050 here in the accounts payable as a credit. So we will find our accounts payable and get that credit of 40,050. Now what date are we doing this on? This is posted at the end of the month here. So this is October 31st. Posting reference is still that page 6 of the purchase journal, and then our balance is $40,050 on the credit side. So next up, working our way over, we have merchandise inventory, a debit for $2,100. Let's find that account here. Debit for $2,100. And this was again on October 31st at the end of the month, posting reference page 6 here of the purchases journal and a debit balance of $2,100. All right, and moving along, we have supplies. So supplies, we have a $250 debit on October 31st. So since this is not quite in the way, we'll work our way over. 250, and gotta make it the balance here. 250 in supplies. So last but not least, we have this furniture account under the other accounts debits. And this is the part where students will make errors. It wouldn't be a huge earth-shaking error, but technically this $1,700 other accounts amount is not posted because it could be for multiple accounts. However, if we go up to the individual $1,700 amount for the furniture, it's a debit that does get posted. So we'll scroll to the furniture account. Now here's that common error. What date does this happen on? It actually, on the individual account, happens on the 24th. So we have to post it on the 24th. Posting reference is P6 with a debit of $1,700 and then a debit balance of $1,700. Now let's go ahead and check our answer. Well done. So then we're going to enter the posting references in the purchase journal. So here's our purchases journal, and so let's do these in chronological order. So at the end of the day on October 1st, we would have posted this to the subledger, and then the subledger, when you post it to it, there is a check mark for the posting reference. And then on the 11th, you would have posted this to the subledger for Briscoe, and then there would be a check mark again for the posting reference. And then on the 24th, after posting, we would put a check mark here again for Spivvy. And again, these posting references are here to remind you and other people that this $2,100 has been posted, so don't go post it again. All right, and then this $40.50 is posted as a total to AP, which is account number 211. And then $2,100 was posted to account 115, the merchandise inventory. And then supplies was posted to account 116 for this $250 total. And then do we post this $1,700 total here? No, this one gets an X because this could be many different accounts that it is getting posted from. So say like land, building, furniture, and those all together would not get lumped in. They would go in separately. So this one, furniture, goes in separately to account 151, which is found at the top of furniture here. Let's go ahead and check our answer. Fantastic. All right, so now for requirement 4, we have to balance the total of the vendor balances in the AP subledger against the AP and general ledger. So notice this is the ledger, so we're going to scroll up to the general ledger, which is in green up here, so we could scroll, and that is going to give us a balance of $40.50, so $4,050. So that is an accounts payable credit balance of $40.50. And again, we can use this here to see those general ledger accounts. However, again, not available on the test. So you can look at them this way. And so now down below, we are grabbing the balances of the AP subledgers for Briscoe, Mills, and Spivvy. So Briscoe's balance is what? 250. Mills balance, double check, 2,100. And then Spivvy is 1,700. And that gives us a total of $40.50, so $4,050. And this balance here on the general ledger has to add up to the total balance here on the subledgers, because again, the subledger is just a breakout of the AP account, showing who owes us what. All right, let's just check our answer. Excellent.